The starting point for any scrapbook page for me is faith. Faith that if I begin moving my photos around on the canvas, the story and the design will emerge. Watch me make favorite photos and see where my faith took me on this day. See my starts and misstarts, see my movement forward and the final result. Along the way, learn about layout design and figure out what story you want to record from your own life. Hi, this is Debbie Hodge with GetItScrap.com. Today I want to scrapbook a page, and I'm going to start by taking a look at what new goodies I have. I'm a digital scrapbooker, and digital supplies are really affordable and you can use them multiple times. So I usually shop a little bit every week, and this week I have these new papers by Ashley Wall. They're like old text print with brushwork over it, and these really great feathers by Anna Aspness, and some word art that I can use for my title or embellishing by Paisley Press. The next step is to find some photos that will go with those products. So I'll go look at my current month photos, and I've got some photos that I took at my mom's house, which I think goes with that sort of old-fashioned look of the products that I picked out. And here's some. My nephew and I were walking around the house taking photos, and my oldest son had just gotten up and was up but not quite up. And I like this photo because it shows my mom's house and it also shows my son. He's gotten older. He's not over playing croquet with everyone. He's off by himself waking up. So I picked out a couple of these photos, and I'm going to straighten up one of them. I can see by the line in the house that it's not quite straight, so I'll just do a little bit of a rotation and crop it. Okay, so I've got product, I've got photos, and now I'm looking for a little inspiration to figure out how to arrange things or just where to go. And so I turned to my Pinterest boards. Those are the Get It Scrapped Pinterest boards, pinterest.com/getitscrapped. And I've got one board called Page Layout where I collect things, just pictures that have items arranged in ways that I think would help me lay things out on a scrapbook page. And I ended up going with an image by Vicki Dvorak, also known as Simply Hue, over on Flickr and on Pinterest, and her website is at matissecolor.blogspot.com, and I will link you up to her website in the notes with this. And so I basically open this image of hers that I like, and I pull it on over into Photoshop so that I can refer to it as I make my page. Looking at Vicki's inspiration piece, I noticed that there's a portrait-oriented photo. Both of my photos right now are landscape-oriented, so I realized I could crop one of them, and it's a completely different way of looking at that picture, and I love what it does to it, that this inspiration piece gave me. And I'm going to pull it into Totally Rad Labs, that filters, to get some looks to it, and I ended up going with a filter that I never use, this Flare Up Golden, which gives it an old-fashioned look, and I never use that, but it's perfect for this. And I also used Easy Burn around the edges. So I'm going to open up a 12-inch by 12-inch canvas and drag that on over there in the same spot that Vicki has a portrait-oriented image. And then where she has the camera in her inspiration piece, I will crop up my other photo, keep it landscape-oriented, and put it there. And I'm going to apply the exact same Totally Rad filters to that. At this point in my process comes that long process of moving things around, revisioning my inspiration piece, trying to figure out where am I going to put the things that I want to use, how will they fit there. So I'm pulling on the new product that I pulled out, thinking about where I'm going to arrange things. I like this word art, favorite photographs, and I'm thinking it could be my title. So I add a little bit of digital stickerism to it. In other words, some white behind it and a little bit bigger than it. Now I'm looking for some ephemera, some pieces that echo the look, get me the mood, the tone, not only the layout on the inspiration piece by Vicki, but the mood and the tone. So I find this Weathered Ephemera by Celeste Knight. I clip up the paper by Ashley that I'd originally opened, and I pull on that feather by Anna, and that feather echoes the flower in the inspiration piece in its length and size. At this point, I could see that I needed a frame around one of the photos to emphasize it. I need some kind of focal point. I need something to be more important than other elements on the page. So I used a vintage frame by Katie Petit. And then I thought I might like to add a border. So I looked at a whole bunch of border products, and I ended up not really liking the look once I dragged those on. I kept looking through my bins, seeing what I have, and I ended up with a nice journaler. I like the orange color. It's got a more modern look to the other elements. Well, I guess it's not old-fashioned, it's more retro, but I think it works with everything. That journaler is by One Little Bird from the Pedal Pusher kit, and so I decided to grab some papers also. In the inspiration piece, Vicky's basically got a framed mat, so I wanted to do the same thing with real subtle differences between them. Now that I'm really getting a better idea of where things are going to go, I want to rework that feather some. So I worked with blending modes to see how it would look. It's rendered in a dark brown, and when I play with the blending modes, I get different looks as it appears on the paper, and the paper sort of shines through it. The other thing that I wanted to do was really emphasize the fact that it was stamped over the edge of a piece of paper. So I wanted to cut a slit out of there, and I even offset the background part a little bit. All right, we're entering the home stretch here. I'm going to add my journaling to the journaling block. And let's see, go take a look for some embellishments. And I found this great stacked hexagons. They're out of felt. That's a really trendy motif right now, but the felt makes them wonderfully timeless or old-fashionedy. And those are by Kate Winiacki. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is revisit that word art that I'm using for my title. I got the one with the banner instead. And in digital scrapbooking, you can always, if you can select an element and then make your selection several pixels bigger than the selection, add a layer beneath and fill it with white, you get a sticker-like effect, and that'll make it stand out against my photo. I'm going to rough up the edges of my second photo. I'm doing a digital page, so I'm using some digital edges, worn digital edges by Lynn Grieveson. If you're making a paper page, you could use sandpaper to do that. The other thing I'm going to do is change the font for my journaling. I had like a cute scripty font there for the journaling, but I think a typewriter font is more in keeping with the mood of the page. And I can't seem to leave this feather alone. I want to point out I used a brown color for that, and I also used a dark brown for my journaling, and I had dark brown for that title word art. I had converted that to brown on white. But anyways, I just really want this to look stamped, and if you notice, I've got the feather on two layers. The bottom half is on one layer and the top half is on another layer, so I can adjust the blending modes and colors of each of those separately. At this point, I'm doing my final embellishing, and I'm going to look for elements that echo the blue and the orange and the red up in that hexagon, the stacked felt. And so I'm taking a look at botanicals, I'm taking a look at buttons, and I ended up settling on a button that echoed the blue and another button that echoes orange with blue. And then I didn't want one more round buttony element, so I went with a tie. And that tie is in a brown that echoes the feather, and it's even got sort of the same elongated shape as the feather. This page went together really quickly. I began by pulling open some new product that I had that all sort of went together. And it has sort of an old-fashioned-y look to it, and I found some photos that I thought went with that. Photos of my son at my mom's house with the house and the garage and the flowers around him for context. And I used some Totally Rad Labs filters to emphasize that old-fashioned look. And then I found an inspiration piece that had that same tone and that showed me where to put things on my page. Favorite photos is a result of my faith in the creative process. I began with product, then found photos that were in keeping with its look. I relied on an inspiration piece to guide my placement of elements on the page. You can master design principles yourself with our free class at getitscrap.com/learndesign.